What is up, guys? I hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're back with some more entitled people. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell, if you enjoy the content, of course. And with that being said, let's get straight into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story is from Fell into a Dark Hole. Brother is willing to risk £1,000 fine being given to my parents to go outside. My brother, 16 male, was diagnosed as having coronavirus last week. Luckily he didn't have a bad case, as he is relatively healthy in general. Where we live at the moment, if a family has coronavirus, the whole family has to stay inside the house for 14 days or risk £1,000 fine. My brother has always been entitled, believing that what he says is always the law and his actions are always correct. We've been inside for the last 7 days. 3 of those he's pitched a fit demand to go outside because it's not like anyone else is going to know I'm out. Besides, it's the first time in months the weather's been nice and I want to see my friends. My parents have told him the risks and why he can't. The only response they get is that he won't get in trouble, even though others have, because he won't pass on the virus. He's apparently gotten a PhD in microbiology in the last week. He's made it clear he doesn't care if our parents have to pay £1,000, all he cares about is his desires. Even though we live literally 6 houses from a care home, specifically for the elderly. My parents are at their wits' end, and my mum's just threatened to cancel his birthday and his Christmas if she has to pay a huge fine because he can't listen. He screams she's unfair, denying his basic human rights. Edit, country is now in 3-week lockdown, so he can also be arrested now. He just attempted to go outside to prove our parents wrong. Dude is 16 and he's crying like a baby. I think his parents should just let him go outside and get in trouble and say, look, you tried holding him back, arrest him if you want to, put him in a cell, hopefully it'll teach him a lesson. Our next story is from a deleted user. Entitled Neighbour angry over outlet covers. Sorry for the potential text wall on my mobile. Backstory, me 16 and my mum 52 are renting in a duplex. The building has outdoor outlets. We also have a neighbour who lives in the unit next to ours. Now on to the actual story. The neighbour liked to plug in his power tools into the outdoor outlets that were using the electricity mum pays for. He was doing this without her permission and without paying for the electricity he was using. Mum eventually discovered that there were outdoor outlets hooked up to our unit and that he is likely using them to use his power tools. We also remembered hearing him with his tools near where those outlets were. We were both sick of him using the electricity she pays for without her permission. At first, we tried to see if we could just flip one of the circuit breakers to turn off those outlets. Apparently, one of the rooms inside our unit was on the same circuit. Had to think of something else. The thing we thought about was a set of locking outlet covers. Shortly after Mum installed them, our mooching neighbour knocked on the door. He was pissed about the fact that there were now covers on the outlets and threatened to call the landlord. The landlord pretty much said that it was our right to keep people from stealing our resources / using them without our permission. Also, please let me know if this belongs somewhere else. This is my first ever post to this subreddit. Our next story is from Rachel Please. My mum wants to close down her small business due to COVID-19. Her customers are threatening to leave her. I am so angry right now. My mum made a Facebook post about closing down a nail salon this week. So far there are no confirmed cases in our area, but it's only a matter of time, and I'm so proud of her for taking this necessary step of prevention. Every comment under her post was, "Are you serious? I desperately need a pedicure. My friend's nail lady is still open. Good luck staying in business," and a bunch of other disappointed people. Like, I get it. It's a harsh reality to face. You don't want interruptions to your daily life, then it makes this threat more real. I understand it's hard. But pull your head out of your ass, get over yourself. You're not going to be anywhere the next couple of weeks where you need to have your nails done. I can't believe you think getting your nails done is that important. Think about the health of yourself and your loved ones. It's not worth putting people's lives at risk for getting a fucking pedicure. Now my mum is second guessing the decision about closing because she's terrified of losing customers. My heart is worried for her now and the decision she makes. I pray she makes the best decision for herself and our family. She's diabetic, my dad's over 60, I'm 8 months pregnant, and my brother has asthma. We cannot afford to get this virus. Edit, I do want to make clear that she has an overwhelming amount of supportive customers that are applauding her decision to close. It was just the negative responses that got me hyped. Since making this post, we got our first confirmed COVID case in our area. We're not effing around anymore. Our next story is from Hopefully Unarmed. EM demands that a sick person is moved out of a hospital unit. Alright, first let me say this isn't my story. I'm a medical student and one of my professors and I are doing a research together, so we have a very close relationship. I have a master's and this professor was actually my advisor during it. She just sent me this story through text and I can't believe some people's cruelty. For context, we're in the middle of a very complicated time for health workers, especially MDs and nurses. My professor is an MD and currently is on the front lines of the infection. In my country, we had a few hospital units selected to treat cases only of respiratory problems, and she's one of the MDs on one of those particular units. This happened last night. While this unit's purpose is to diagnose and test cases of COVID-19, most of the cases appearing were usually common colds, flus, or allergies. We expected that, since people always rush to these places when they get cold-like symptoms these days. And as you realise, the place was packed. However, a patient who had come in sometime before had symptoms that matched COVID, was waiting for the result of his exam. He was seated on a separate room and had a mask on, as precautions by WHO dictate. Let's make it clear that he wasn't in the same room as everyone else. After some time, the exam was ready and it came back positive. However, the team was prepared for that. His symptoms weren't acute, so he wouldn't need to be intubated, but he needed to be admitted as he did have major shortness of breath. Also, since there is a patient who tested positive, by law of the state we're in, we have to warn every member of the waiting room, regardless if the patient was there or not. Thus began the horror. While some people were apprehensive, they understood that they had not had contact with this patient. However, one woman didn't. This middle-aged woman got on her feet, pulled a kid by her arm, her child, and went to the counter, letting fumes out of her nostrils. She started to have an argument with the nurses, saying that it was irresponsible to leave that person there, that this person was going to make them all sick and die, that her child couldn't get sick because she had a weak immune system, and demanded that COVID patient was kicked out of that unit. Now, I'm not aware of every bit she said, but it was around those lines. However, please remember that this unit was converted especially to treat COVID patients. Media says all the time that if you're sick but you don't think it's COVID, you should go to the regular units. Otherwise, you should call a COVID line where they would tell you where to go. This woman clearly wasn't there because of an infection and was demanding a sick patient who needed a supplementary O2 to be kicked out of the hospital for the sake of her child. Oh well, that just made me lose a bit of faith in humanity. My professor was the one who called the authorities and had the woman removed. Also, I asked her if it was okay to post and she allowed it. Cheers. And this is just going to be the beginning of these COVID stories. I reckon they're going to get more and more insane as we get further into it. Oh, stay safe, guys. Our next story is from Shenko Wolf. Who knew teenage sleepovers were so dangerous? My daughter had a friend over for a sleepover last weekend. They're both 13-year-old girls, and it was all fairly standard stuff. Watch shitty movies, stay up late, eat too much junk food, you know the drill. Both kids seemed to have a nice time, and the visiting kid was nice enough for someone else's teenage child, and I really didn't think too much more about it. Until the friend's mother called me Sunday night, absolutely outraged over what I had done while her child was in my care. Was it allowing them to stay up too late? Was it the junk food? Was it the choice of film I allowed them to watch? No, my crime was far worse than that. Imagine the mother's horror when she discovered I allowed her child to, wait for it, drink tap water. Turns out only bottled water is acceptable for her family. Now, I know some places there are issues drinking tap water. We live in an area with excellent tap water quality, so I was kind of baffled what the issue was. I told her, our tap water is fine, and your kid didn't say anything at the time. But oh no, that wasn't good enough. You see, tap water has toxins in it, it is not safe, and her family only drinks bottled water, and she is, frankly, shocked and disturbed that her child was associated with a child of such an awful, awful parent, and that I could rest assured that she'd be calling CPS first thing Monday to have my child removed from such a harmful environment. I was just kind of stunned and didn't really say anything, and she just hung up on me. I'd love to know where she thinks the bottled water companies get their water from, and second, we're in Australia and CPS isn't a thing here, so yeah, they're out there. And the guy posted an update post on this one as well. So last night, my wife and I went to an arena concert of a band we both idolised from childhood. 2 of 4 original members. Still a fun show, and lead guitarist is still amazing. My daughter and her friend from last week's incident have recently discovered the band and kind of fangirled out last weekend when we mentioned we were seeing them this weekend. We were sold tickets by another friend who couldn't go, so we only had 2 tickets. If we had the means, I would have liked to take my daughter, but it didn't work out that way. So we bought a bunch of overpriced merch, as you do, including a t-shirt for our daughter and a matching one for her friend with a crazy bottled water mother. I thought it would be a nice, no hard feelings gesture, certainly to the kid and hopefully to the mother. My daughter took off on her bike to her friend's house first thing this morning to give her the shirt and hang out, listen to 40-year-old songs that were cool before I was born. So guess who just called? Was she calling to say thanks for the nice gift for her kid and apologise for overreacting last weekend? No. No, she wasn't. Her family doesn't need charity, and she is more than capable of buying her child clothes if she needs them. And even so, she wouldn't buy her child clothes advertising something so vile, and I can rest assured, this seems to be a go-to phrase, that she has thrown the t-shirt into the rubbish, and she'll thank me to stay out of her family's business. And with that, she hung up on me. This is the vile t-shirt in question. Talk about no deed goes unpunished. Blows my mind that there are just people out there just... what can you even say to these stories, man? Craziness. Anyway guys, I hope you did enjoy these stories. I love entitled people stories. It just reminds me of the craziness that's out in that world. I know it's a crazy world already, but you bump into these people. Thank you so much for being here, the time out of your day. I hope you're truly staying safe out there. As I mention every time, it's crazy out there right now. Look after yourselves, because I need you watching my videos. Take care now. Much love. Goodbye.